So people have a lot of questions. What really happened with Snow White?
Countless fans and believers flocked online hunting for any hint of official announcements. Then Brett Cooper strolled into the discussion, teasing Rachel Zegler every step and transforming what was already a fiery argument into a full-blown digital circus.
After a long wait, Disney's new Snow White finally came out last week, and to put it mildly, my friends, this has been a colossal mess.
Allegedly, the movie's initial week ticket sales figures were so dismal, theaters concluded there was no reason to keep it on their marquees, a Disney flop.
Has been absolutely horrifying. Like, I literally found myself feeling bad for them at times, that just shows you how terrible this has been. It is financially crumbling, financially failing. The reviews are genuinely horrible.
Yanked in record speed, that was the gossip, and Rachel Zegler, the star of this whole disaster, found herself under attack in a way she never imagined.
And new controversies surrounding the production, surrounding the actresses in the film are literally popping up every single day. They cannot outrun the curse.
We're not talking about a gradual dimming or a silent admission that the movie was tanking. No whispers say it was pulled with the sort of haste you see in crisis management disasters. People claim distributors nearly raced to erase showtimes.
Is there one reason why this actually flopped? Was it because of politics and wokeness? Was this another woke flop? Or was it simply just a terrible film that nobody wanted from the beginning?
The thing I can truly say is that is not my tale to share. Did Rachel Zegler's own words drive viewers away so forcefully that the film basically imploded on day one? It seems absurd, but those are the claims circling around.
So I know that we all want to talk about this Snow White, but I know that there is also another Snow White that I think you guys want me to talk about.
That appeared ideal for a contemporary fairy tale heroine. But then the buzz began. She landed herself in trouble for labeling the classic Snow White tale. Obsolete fans exploded, kind of.
Unfortunately, the only thing I can really say is that is not my story to tell.
Calling her comments insulting to Disney's heritage, suddenly Zegler was no longer the adored figure behind closed doors. Rumors stacked up.
If you are somebody who, has a lot of publicity around you and your name's attached to a project, that means that you have a ton of control or a ton of intel, but usually that is not the case. Unless you are, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively with all of their films, apparently.
People alleged she was delivering cunning lines in interviews, casting herself as the advocate for modern ideals, while stomping on the loyal fan base. Her defenders argued she was just being candid.
You don't get to dictate anything. You don't get to dictate if a film actually happens. You don't get to dictate when it is shot, how it is shot, if you can ever speak about it to the public. You are simply just there to show up and say your lines and look the way they want you to look.
That she aimed to refresh outdated concepts. Critics retorted no one requested that by the time shooting ended, online forums were alight with suspicion toward her. And ironically,
kind of seems like maybe this path that I'm taking right now is the path that Rachel Zegler should have taken instead of just running her mouth for the last 3 years, which we are going to get into now.
The collapse that would ensue felt like fate. Then Brett Cooper came charging, fueled by a deep-seated urge to say, "I warned you," so she pounced on Zegler's remarks.
This has been going on since 2022, since September of 2022, that is when this all first exploded.
Stuff about how the classic Snow White was lame or too old-fashioned and called it cocky nonsense. And the rumor that the film flopped hard. Cooper relished every moment of it.
Rachel Zegler, her comments first exploded on the scene about Snow White back at the Disney D23 Expo. The clips went viral of her saying, "Snow White doesn't need a man, she's not gonna fall for the prince."
She reportedly shared a biting reaction clip, showing bits of Zegler's interviews, rolling her eyes and ridiculing the star's bold updates to the fairy tale. The takedown didn't stop there.
Have forgotten those clips, this is what I'm referring to.
Longer 1937 is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can.
Cooper branded the debacle as the perfect dose of your own poison. In her opinion, Zegler betrayed the cherished classic, so fans rejected her. Suddenly, people rallied behind Brett Cooper's fearless stance, cheering her for daring to voice the truth.
Maybe I could be president one day. I hate men. I just want to be president. That screams Disney princess. Oh my God, I'm literally getting enraged. Once again, I feel like I'm back in 2022.
That wasn't the full tale, because behind the scenes, rumors of a dramatic breakdown were simmering.
Yeah, the entire film's about a love story. That's what the point of the film is. And I'm sorry that chivalry and a man pursuing you is now deemed as stalking. There is just so much to unpack here. Like, the most iconic Disney role ever. I feel like you should kind of have some sort of reverence for the original production, for what it meant.
Industry murmurs hint Rachel Zegler lost it when the low box office numbers hit. Allegedly, she hammered executives with angry calls, demanding to know who greenlit the promotion plan. Some even say she blamed her co-stars for stealing her spotlight. Random leaks cited hidden voicemails with Zegler's voice trembling in rage, yelling about useless people ruining her big chance. The whole mess was packed with tension. Production crew reportedly flinched at every new phone alert in case it was. Another furious note from Zegler's team online. Theorists jumped in, portraying Zegler as someone who'd do anything to avoid blame. She's always got a reason. They said it's never her fault. Of course, Zegler's camp refutes all of it yet. We're not finished. The breakdown was only one part of a murkier riddle that Disney itself had to tackle fast when the rumored ticket sales stats started spreading numbers so shockingly low that some were dubbing it the biggest flop of the year. Disney brass allegedly shifted into full-on panic mode. Insiders murmur about a hectic secret meeting where nervous execs clustered around bleak charts, trying to devise how to frame the news, so it wouldn't sully the studio's storied name. The stress was so heavy that, according to one unconfirmed tip, you could almost sense the sweat pouring off everyone's faces amid that turmoil. The tale goes that a daring call was made: yank Snow White from theaters before its awful run got splashed across every media outlet. By pulling the film so abruptly, Disney could let people think that theaters themselves had hit the brakes. After all, the corporate heads knew if they owned up and admitted it was their move, it would look like a shameful surrender. Instead, they left this vague story floating in the air, part ban, part rumor, part corporate sidestep. Naturally, doubters weren't convinced. They blasted Disney for staging a sneaky cover-up, calling it a calculated bid to brush the whole fiasco under the carpet. One alleged source went as far as saying they're hoping to erase this mess so quick you'll think you dreamed the whole thing. The absence of any solid answer from Disney only stoked the chatter. They released fuzzy statements that skirted around the glaring question: why did a major studio seemingly ditch its own big launch after just one catastrophic week? Meanwhile, Brett Cooper wasted no time grabbing the story. She seized on every bit of conjecture, gleefully telling her followers that Disney bowed to a so-called reckless lead actress. Whether you think Cooper's claims were exaggerated or spot on, one thing became crystal clear. Her commentary sparked a blaze under critics, turning the film's downfall into a full-on media frenzy. And of course, once the chaos erupted, it only took a single nudge to send the whole breakdown roaring to life. Social media flared up like a carnival overnight. Be Snow White flop and Zegler collapse trended. Fiery arguments emerged. Was Rachel Zegler just trying to push a fresh angle, or did she deliberately stir up Disney's diehard fans? Meanwhile, Brett Cooper backers claimed this was justice in real time, with lines like, "That's what happens when you trash a legacy." In some pockets of the web, fans mocked Zegler's efforts to update a story they felt needed no fixing. Others slammed Cooper's taunts, calling it small and vindictive. But that's the world we live in.
She is not Caucasian. She is a Latina. She is half Colombian. And so people were like, why were you cast in the first place? We just had a black Little Mermaid. Now we're having a Latina Snow White, and she is literally called Snow White. This doesn't make sense. So that was happening. Again, Rachel didn't even seem like she cared or liked the source material. I mean, that is just far from a graceful Disney princess-like promotion. It's far from what you would think Disney wanted.
Where sides are drawn so starkly that everything turns into a fierce clash of words. Now, though the mystery lingers, could the disaster simply be the result of a weak film? Or does it reveal deeper personal flaws from the star herself digging deeper? Some ex-colleagues have suggested that Zegler's public poise might be just that. A front off camera, they claim she's fixated on her own spotlight, crafting narratives to stay the noble figure in every plot. A few folks leaked hazy tales of controlling moves, from rewriting whole scenes to suit her own spin, to quietly undercutting co-stars who outshone her. Pundits argue that Zegler's drive to modernize everything didn't stem from a place of true vision, but from a need to flaunt moral high ground. They think she misread the public's bond with Disney classics, dismissing the roots of the tale that put her on the map in the first place. The breakdown rumors only add weight to the idea that she took on more than she could handle and ended up facing a brutal wake-up call. But the real twist is how Brett Cooper leveraged all of this so shrewdly, tapping the public's anger and turning Zegler into a laughingstock. In the end, everything that could go awry for Snow White apparently did poor promotion, a star who openly slammed the treasured source material, and a tide of doubt from day one when the first few days' earnings tanked. The collapse had no pause, peaking in that stunning rumor about the movie's sudden exit from theaters. Meanwhile, Brett Cooper ramped up her ridicule-framing Rachel Z as the ultimate warning tale, a performer who trashed an icon and wound up trashing her own name too. Whether you think Zegler was sincerely lost or slyly, scheming the public backlash has forged an epic spectacle. Her shiny image is now tinged with doubt, leaving fans to ponder if they ever really knew the actress behind the part. Was it all a ruse, or did Zegler, in her push for fresh storytelling, simply overstep and get stunned by the might of Disney's loyal crowd? What's clear is this: the mess stands as a warning that tampering with beloved classics can ignite a fierce backlash, and that mocking your own fans is the surest way to lose. Now, everyone is waiting to see what new shock might drop next. Will more proof surface proving Zegler's meltdown, or will the star find a last-ditch way to regain her throne? Only time will tell. But one thing's sure: if Rachel Zegler thought she could charm her way out of this, Brett Cooper's ceaseless jabs just made that endlessly tougher. And with that, we've hit a turning point. The sides are set and both camps are livid. Maybe the fall is well-deserved, or maybe it's an overhyped response, whichever side you're on. The Rachel Zegler-Brett Cooper clash has shown the industry a raw lesson. The bigger the pride, the steeper the drop. And if the final strike came from fans who wanted nothing but a faithful nod to the original Snow White, then perhaps we're seeing the grandest fairy tale twist of all when you scorn a cherished story. Sometimes the story scorns you right back.